To our Better Together series. Today we're going to be talking about Adobe Marketo Engage and Adobe Analytics with the Datajoin team. Love that. We are just so excited to pass it over. This Better Together series is really here to help you understand how Adobe Marketo Engage and Adobe Analytics can work simultaneously and hand in hand. These user groups are truly designed to allow you to network, meet with other users, share best practices, and hear from thought leaders like the Datajoin team. So this is an interactive session. Feel free to post your questions in the chat. We'll make sure to be monitoring that. And then, as you saw, this session is being recorded. So be mindful of that, and we'll make sure to get this posted to the event page afterwards. So without further ado, over to you, Sam.
Awesome. Hey, I'm Sam from Datajoin. Hello, everybody. Thought we'll try to add a little music, add a little live meeting, type of feel to this. Hopefully, I'm Hawaiian, and so I play the uke. Not all Hawaiians do, but most do. And I love data, so I got a little song for you guys about Adobe and Marketo together. Adobe data in Marketo makes me happy, makes me feel fine. Oh, that data makes me warm inside. Yes, it does. Makes me feel like I'm gonna love you till the end of time. Aloha, everyone. That's our little kickoff. Better Together, Adobe Analytics and Marketo. I know, most Marketos stick to the Marketo side and Adobe stick to the Adobe side, but we're hoping that with this session that Cameron's going to present, you'll see that you could do more together and it's better together. So thank you, guys.
Thanks, Sam. I'll jump in. It's a hard act to follow. We should just do like a few more songs instead of going into the PowerPoint, actually. But no, it's great to have Sam be able to do that because I think it sets a nice stage for these presentations. Sam said, we're Datajoin. Sam's the CEO here. I'm Cameron. I'm head of products. But yeah, Sam being Hawaiian, like to bring a little aloha spirit to these presentations. We actually just did one with about 400 or 500 people at Cisco as part of like their big analytics group, and Sam played that for them. So it was super fun. So we wanted to share that with you guys. So hope you enjoyed that. Let's dive in. So Better Together, that's what we want to talk about today. Adobe Analytics and Marketo Engage. And it's, like I said, I'm Cameron, Sam CEO here at Datajoin, and I'm the head of product. These two systems, they're really, there's data that resides in each, and there's tools that reside in each that are critical to marketing activities and marketing efforts. One thing that's become a challenge that we've seen as we've worked with clients and as we've talked to marketers over our, Sam and I have 20 collective years of experience in marketing analytics and helping out marketers, is getting these systems to communicate really, really fluidly. Like, how do you do that? How do you make that easy? And so in this presentation, what we want to do is we want to give you guys some immediate value that you can take back to your office, take back to your teams today, tomorrow, and start immediately talking about it. So if you're integrated in both of these systems, this presentation is really for you. So if you have both, and even if you don't have both, and you're considering maybe, getting Marketo or getting a marketing automation tool, starting to think about how you can integrate those better. And specifically in this presentation, what we're going to talk about is, first off, why should you even care? What capabilities, what tactics can you enable by integrating these two systems? And then what does it actually look like with real clients? So we'll just give a quick example of, somebody that we work with, a company that we work with that's been able to do this effectively, and kind of the benefits that they've been able to receive. And then Sam is actually going to take you through, a quick something that you guys can go do, like I said, today, tomorrow, next week with your teams to start getting these systems integrated today. And then lastly, we'll walk you through something that we call micro integrations, which is something that can help you go even further. So let's jump in. So better together, just like peanut butter and jelly. It's just better when you have marketing tools that communicate seamlessly, without interruption. When you have data from both systems flowing in between each other, hence the picture of the peanut butter jelly sandwich, actually kind of making me hungry. So I'm regretting putting that there. But better together. So what we've seen with teams that we're able to help them integrate these tools together and help them take the steps to do that is eliminating silos. So something that happens with marketing teams that we've seen, again, over the last 10, 15 years as we've done this, is when you have systems that don't communicate, where the data doesn't translate between each other, there's these marketing silos and these team silos that builds up, right? So you have one team who's working on, marketing automation, and they're just working on email campaigns. And you have another team working on, just the Google Ads part of the business. And you have another team doing just the social part of the business. And they don't have like a synergy. And then you have the web analytics team who's doing measurement. They're kind of sitting off doing their own thing. So it creates these silos when you don't have the synergy and the synchronized data between the systems. And that, leads to the second point of synchronizing teams. So truly integrated marketing, when teams are able to work together, that's what creates, really powerful, great marketing that helps, push buyers down the funnel, creates great experiences, better experiences for potential buyers. It's when teams work together. And, without an integration, it's just really hard to do that. And we know integration is a big challenge, right? And there was a Martech chart that just was, some of you probably seen this chart going around LinkedIn, where they talk about, one of the biggest considerations as marketers look at marketing tools is how well do they integrate. The problem with that chart, and as we talked with other buyers before about this, is the problem with that chart is that buying a new tool doesn't solve the integration problem. It's really about, you have to look specifically at how do you get the tools to integrate together and focus on that. It's not about getting a new tool. It's how do you get what you have to work better together. So a quick example of a client where we've been able to help them do this is Fidelity. So Fidelity out in the UK, they have an arm, they work with small businesses and sell financial products into those businesses. And they came to us with this very specific goal. They wanted to shorten deal cycles. This is the B2B arm of Fidelity, shorten deal cycles through personalized communications. And so they had all this data that lives in Adobe Analytics, like I showed in that last slide on this bottom chart here. Data lives in Adobe Analytics, like, watching videos, logins, views a product page, all the different form data and events that they have there, spends time on a blog article, so on and so forth. They had all this data that lived there, but they couldn't activate on it. They couldn't take advantage of it in Marketo. And so what we help them to do is we help them to integrate that data. And so what they're able to do on their team is they can pull into Marketo, directly into Marketo, specific events that were really important for them. So specific to Fidelity, it was login success, fact sheet downloads, webinar view completion percentage, and a whole bunch more. And so what they're able to do is take all these pieces of data, and they've expanded their tactics, by 10x what they were doing before. They expanded their ability to work with the digital team that owns Adobe Analytics, and they're just working together much more seamlessly. So what we want to do right now is I'm going to hand it off to Sam, and he's going to actually show, short of going and getting some grand solution to this problem, there are steps that you can take today to actually get these systems to integrate and talk to each other. So Sam, I'm going to pass it off to you, and you can walk through and show these guys how to actually do that.
Sounds good. Thanks, Cameron. Yeah, let me just share my screen. Let's see. All right, awesome. Yeah, so I'm sure most of you know here on the call that Adobe, they purchased Marketo a few years back. So they own both systems, the Adobe Experience Cloud and Marketo Engage. And so, they've created some pretty cool out-of-the-box integration between the two. And I'm going to show you guys how to do something that's really simple that you can start, integrating these systems together. And, the use case that we'll look at is, how do we sync an audience from Adobe Analytics into a Marketo list, basically. And so right here on this tab, this is our Marketo sandbox instance. And then right here, this is our Adobe Analytics sandbox instance. And the use cases that we've got all these different segments that we've created based off of various web behavior. So let me just pull up a couple of samples that we created for this demo. We've got one here that's high intent recent visitors, right? And for companies that we work with, this could be visitors who have come to the site 3 times, have spent X amount of time on the site within the past week, and have downloaded at least three PDFs, right? That type of segment building inside of Adobe Analytics is a piece of cake, right? And so we can build that here inside of Adobe, and with the integration that Adobe has built out between Marketo and Adobe Analytics, we could push this into Marketo, and any matches that it finds inside of Marketo, it'll just push that into a smart list. And so first step to be able to do that, before we could actually push the list in, you have to set up what's called your Adobe organization mapping. And we can make sure that everyone has links to this documentation, how to do this. But you basically come in here in your Marketo instance, admin, Adobe organization mapping, and then I've already mapped mine, so it has my org ID right here. But if you haven't done it, then you'll have a little edit button right here that you can press, and you just get with your Adobe admin, get this org ID from them, copy and paste it, and then log into Adobe Analytics, and you're done. So this is something that's really simple. Like, if you have the right people at the table, it just takes a couple of minutes to be able to do that. And what that has done is now behind the scenes, Adobe is doing a cookie sync between Munchkin cookie and Adobe's cookie, and matches visitors with lead IDs instead of Munchkin. So that's the first part of setting it up. Once this is done, then you can come over here to database inside of Marketo, and let's say we wanted to push this this high intent recent visitors segment into a list. We can just click on this new, and then you will see this right here, sync from Experience Cloud audience. So we go ahead and set that up. You can see that the sync is in place. It's referencing, if I open this up, the Adobe people will probably understand, but yeah, these are all the different report suites in my Adobe Analytics organization that I've mapped over. So let's just pick a folder. The audience name, this is all of our sandbox instance, so this is not automatically populating, because all of these are basically empty segments in our demo instance. But you would be able to see in this drop down here, like all of the segments that have at least one visitor inside of Adobe, that would populate here in this drop down. And then you could just send this to, go ahead and just type a new list, high intent visitors. And if it doesn't exist, then it'll just create a brand new list, and it'll be populated with that audience. So it's really that simple. It's pretty cool that Adobe has done this functionality, but I think the use case, for the marketing automation folks is, think of the type of segmentation that you'd like to do. Marketo certainly collects, certain things such as page views, but there's a lot more that's being collected inside of Adobe Analytics in terms of events and actual content consumption type of events that you can pull into here. So I think I'll stop there, Cameron, and just pass it back to you.
Yeah, before I keep going, any questions on what Sam just walked through, or anything we can clarify just to help? I think like Sam said, really simple way that you guys can start to take advantage of data that you have residing in Adobe and immediately start to activate it on Marketo. Any questions?
I have a quick question.
Go for it.
Could you expand a little bit more on the difference between looking at users based on the Munchkin code versus like the Adobe code you reference, or Adobe person visitor data? Like what's the difference between that? I'm assuming Adobe information is just more accurate.
Sure. Yeah, I can answer that. So basically what happens is there's a cookie sync. As long as Adobe is somewhere on the page, then Adobe, has assigned, that person a visitor ID, which is called the ECID, and that's stored in Adobe's cookie. If Munchkin's also on the page, then Munchkin is also assigned it, its own visitor ID. And so Adobe behind the scenes is basically saying, okay, Adobe visitor 123, and Munchkin Marketo visitor ABC, this is the same individual because it's the same cookies that are on this page, and it stores that combination in the background. Does that answer your question, or were you?
Yeah. Is there any added benefit, or is it just two different ways of storing user information that's now kind of mapped?
Yeah, I think the added benefit is that now, now inside of Marketo, there could be a lead, and the Adobe visitor IDs of that person back in Adobe. And inside of Adobe, there's a wealth of information that's not being tracked inside of Marketo. For example, like which PDFs did they download, which videos did they view. It tracks that kind of out of the box for Adobe Analytics side of things. And I guess the principle is now you have access to that because those visitor ID associations have been made, and vice versa. The Adobe side, we see that use case too, where they want to see, the lead status or the industry or the job title, of that visitor, but that data lives in Marketo. And, before this type of integration, there's no way to associate the visitor with the lead ID, but now there is.
Yeah, Sam, if you go back to the segment manager, can you just open up that audience that we have, just to clarify that point? I think I hear what you're saying. Yeah, that one.
Yeah. This is just an empty audience.
Right. Yeah. I mean, this is empty because these are just dev instances of our reports. But in your Adobe instance, right? So on the left-hand side, you've got all the metrics and different dimensions that are associated with the Adobe, Adobe ECID, Adobe ID that lives. So people come to your website, they get tagged with Adobe data, and then there's all the metrics and all the dimensions inside Adobe Analytics when you do the sync that we just walked through. That all becomes available now in Marketo because you can create segments and then sync those segments into Marketo with the steps that we just walked through. So that's really the advantage, is being able to take all these data points that normally you just you can't get in Marketo. You can only get just a few different web metrics. You can get all those things in here and merge them over using the segment builder and then the audience sync that we just walked through.
Yeah. And this is one example, like cart additions or cart removals. Normally these type of, behavioral events, click events, is very hard to track inside of Marketo, but very easy to do in Adobe. And, you can pass this type of event data into Marketo.
Okay, thank you so much.
So we had a question come through. Do you need AEP licensing or just Google Analytics? I'm not sure I understand the question. Guy, maybe if you're on, you can clarify.
Yeah, I was wondering whether or not, hi, thanks. I was wondering whether or not you need AE. I jumped into the meeting a few minutes late. But
no worries.
Do you need licensing with AEP? Or if you're just running Google Analytics on your corporate site, that you could tie the Marketo with the analytics to make these segments?
So for this specific use case, this just applies to Adobe Analytics. So, there are ways to do Google that are, we won't cover in this meeting, but we'll talk about a way that you can do that in this meeting if, we'll share about micro integrations, but specifically for what Sam just walked through, this is just for Adobe Analytics to Marketo. Any other questions?
Yeah, I did have a question. You have, once I have the Adobe organization, that org ID, does it require an admin in the analytics side? Like, how do you, I may have missed, how do you add that in, or how do you sync the two?
Sam, can you go back to that screen real quick? Sorry, I think you de-shared. No worries.
Yeah, so yes, you do have to have an admin on the Adobe side that's logging in. Since I've already done it here, I can't really replicate it, but if you hadn't set it up yet, you'll have an edit button. You click on that edit, and then it'll ask you to paste this org ID and then to log into Adobe. And the creds that you use to log into Adobe have to have admin for the org. It has to be at organization level.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so somebody on the Adobe side with admin access, and then that org ID is really easy to get if you have access to an admin, somebody who has access to the admin page in Adobe in Experience Cloud. That org ID just lives right in the URL. It's just in the URL, and you can just grab the number and then have them sign in, and that should authenticate everything you need. Yeah, so Sam's showing it right here. That number, that will be your org ID right there.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So this integration doesn't require any plugin to be installed or as an extension. You just need to have your IMS org ID that relies in the Adobe Analytics. You just copy and paste it into the Marketo admin console, right?
That's right. So yeah, that's right. So you paste it in, and then the one piece of friction is, like Sam said, you do need to have somebody with admin access to Adobe authenticate on that page. So they'd have to log in with their creds. So they'd take that number, put it in, authenticate with their creds. But then once that's done, then you can do all the segment syncing that you want.
Okay, so this will allow all the custom metrics and dimensions to get synced into the Adobe Marketo, right?
Well, you can push segments into Marketo, but as far as dimensions and metrics, Cameron's going to cover that. That's a little bit outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So segments you build inside Adobe. That's everything native to Adobe, and you can push the segments over, but having like specific dimensions and metrics actually natively inside Marketo, that's something I'll cover just right now, unless there are any other questions we can cover. Okay, well, if there's no other questions, I'll keep going. So that's actually a great lead in to the next part of our conversation. So talking about some limitations. So what Sam showed, awesome, incredible first step. You guys can go do that, tomorrow, today, next week. You can start getting segments and take advantage of all that Adobe data inside of Marketo. But there are some limitations, like was mentioned. So if I want to just have attributes or events from Adobe just living inside of Marketo so that I can combine them and I can make smart lists and I can do everything natively inside Marketo, that's not something you can do. So you can build a segment inside of Adobe and push that segment, and then you can, create campaigns in Marketo that go off of that, activate on that segment. But combining metrics maybe that you have from Marketo, like lead status or, any other metrics, things that you keep inside Marketo, and combine them with events and attributes from Adobe, you can't really do that. You can't do that. You can only just build segments, and it's not app native. But there is a way to do that, and this is something that we do. This is exactly the problem we solve at Datajoin, and we call it micro integrations. And micro integrations, the idea here is to provide a managed service, for companies that are trying to integrate these systems that doesn't require any code. It's turnkey, extremely quick implementation. There's no brand new piece of software or central data platform that you have to adopt. And then specifically, it's designed, specifically to address these use cases within marketing, and even more specifically that in B2B marketing as well. So micro integrations would allow you to, for example, take data, any piece of data or data point that lives in Adobe Analytics, and integrate it directly natively into Marketo. And the way it works is, we pull data from from a source API, for example, Adobe Analytics, and from a target API, in this case, Marketo. We take that data, we combine it, and we do ID resolution. So Similar to the way that audience sync that we just talked about does some cookie matching, we kind of our technology takes that to the next level. So we call it ID resolution, a relatively common phrase. We unify the data, and then we take all the events attributes from the source app and combine all the data points that you want, and we take that and we push it natively into the target application. And so what does that enable, specifically for Adobe Analytics to Marketo? So inside of that tool, and this is just a really, simple example. This is one simple example we did for a client. We just pulled in from Adobe. They had a specific PDF download event in Adobe that they were able to pull natively and tie that to an individual customer inside Marketo. Then you can use that data point and you can build, create smart lists, create activations to your heart's content, and get all that data that's unavailable in Marketo from Adobe into the system. So we work with a client, Fortune 500 manufacturing company, and we're starting with micro integrations. They were able to see all the different behavioral clickstream events from Adobe flowing directly into Marketo, and we like to call this building a smarter smart list, right? So they can go in and they can have smart lists that just go way far beyond anything that you can do natively in the tool. You can do with micro integrations. Some of the customers that we do this with today, Comcast, I already mentioned Fidelity, Cytiva, Cisco, ARM, App Dynamics, which was bought by Cisco, and then even Adobe. We have teams at Adobe that we work with to integrate Marketo and Adobe Analytics so that they can do specific targeting to help nurture leads down the funnel. They're taking advantage of our technology. So micro integrations. And that is pretty much it from our side of the presentation. Any questions out there on micro integrations, on the walkthrough that Sam just gave? Any other questions that we can answer or address?
Cam, Kyle Hall had a question about getting data from Google Analytics or another software over to Adobe Analytics if they were to switch.
Say that one more time.
It's in the question. He says, if my company has used Google Analytics or another analytics
software, I see it now.
Yep, but wants to switch to Adobe, is there a capability to import that historical data into Adobe?
That there's not anything native. That's certainly a possibility, but you would have to do it. I mean, it would be a pretty heavy lift from like a data analytics perspective, like a data engineering perspective. It is possible, but not something that we address or that you could address like with any tool. You'd have a pretty heavy engineering lift, if you're moving from Google into Adobe to like map all that data from history.
Yeah, just getting that history, that's the huge undertaking, because we got to associate ECIDs with GA client IDs.
Yeah.
They could only have done it if Adobe's on the page somewhere. So
that's right. That's right.
I have a question. In the limitation audience, you said you cannot combine the attributes and events from Adobe and Marketo, but with the help of micro integrations, is this possible?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So what the difference with micro integrations with our tech that we built out is that you can take data points that normally are native to Adobe Analytics and you can integrate them directly into Marketo. So then those data points live as if they were created by Marketo. They just live natively in the tool and you can use them in whatever way that you want. Versus with sort of the standard out of the box thing that exists, the audience sync that we just talked about. That's just segments from Adobe statically put into Marketo, whereas this is, you get access to whatever you want.
Yeah. Oh, so this micro integration allow us to, like, for example, we have some form fill-ups, we have some registration pages where we ask and encourage users to submit the form submits. And I have a counter event which updates every time when the users are actually submitting the form. So those kind of events I can have in Marketo, means I can sync them.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
100%.
All right. That's a great thing.
Yeah. Looks like Cameron Long in the chat has a question. My organization has multiple Marketo instances. Don't ask. Any suggestions with regards to integrating those with a single Adobe Analytics instance or migrating data? So I think Sam, if you in the synchronization that we just did, if you have does it only allow you to sync one Adobe org ID?
Yeah, so you can. I think it's okay to have multiple Marketo orgs, but as long as there's just one Adobe org, then you can just go into each of those Marketo orgs, map the same org ID, and then
That's right.
Just hit the designated report suite in Adobe. So.
And with micro integrations, we can those our product can help with that as well, because we can map data from different instances, because everything, again, it works at the ID resolution level, and so we can help with that as well, where Adobe maybe can't handle that specific challenge. Let's see.
Is it possible that can you show us the screen that you show as an example, like how the data looks like with the micro integration?
Yes. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Fairly rudimentary example, but this is an example of an activity page for a user. So you can see, all the different activities that are taking place. This is in the Marketo UI, visit web page, email delivered, sending. This is all like standard Marketo stuff. And then this highlighted piece is an example of what it would look like. So when we push specific events or activities from Adobe, those would all appear in the user's timeline as if they are native to Marketo, but they're pulled from Adobe Analytics.
Yeah, it's coming through as a custom activity.
That's right, custom activity.
Cameron, I had a question. So if we're pushing activity from the user activity from our website, is this going to overlap with the activity that the Munchkin code would already be bringing in from the corporate website?
No,
what's the benefit?
Yeah, so the benefit is that within it, we're not pulling anything that that Munchkin already tracks, because obviously Munchkin already does some basic stuff like web visits, last click, and some things like that. The value is within Adobe, and this is with with the clients that we work with, there are dozens of specific custom events that they're tracking on the website that they want to be able to retarget, remarket off of. For example, like I gave Fidelity, login success, fact sheet download, webinar view completion percentage. So, and they have a whole bunch more that they're leveraging. These are data points that are unavailable. You cannot get these in Marketo. Like there's no way to get these, but they do live in Adobe. Yeah.
Thank you for explaining that. I missed that. So this is more advanced metrics, not just in custom goals, not just page views.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the whole value
thanks,
of yep. No problem. So I see the comment just talking about CJA, and that could very well be true. They may have an integration. Now keep in mind though, CJA is a mass, it's a really big, heavy expense, heavy implementation. So just keep that in mind. I mean, CJA could be a great value, like great use case for your organization, but we've worked extensively with our partners at Adobe, talking through CJA and like looking at that platform. Great, fantastic platform, great tech, but majorly heavy lift. So one of the value, big pieces of value that we bring with micro integrations is small, lightweight, very affordable costs. So this is a way for you guys or for the companies you work with to solve this problem like really nimbly without having to pull in something as big and as heavy as CJA. Now that could be what your organization needs, but if it's not, this can be a much, lighter weight, easier, simpler alternative. Any other questions?
Can we push like time on a web page? If anybody was on a page for over a minute.
Say that again. Was that Dakota?
Yeah. I don't use Adobe. Is time on a page, is that a behavior that we could push over? So I'm looking to get anybody who's been on a page for a minute, right? Marketo gives me, you visited the page. I'm looking for a little bit of time. Is that a behavior I could push?
Absolutely.
Or
Yeah.
an audience I could push?
Yep. Yep, 100%. So in that case, like you could do it either way. That will depend on what you have set up in terms of your tracking and like your tagging in Adobe Analytics. But yeah, I mean time spent, and if that's tied to a specific page, like just making sure you have that set up in Adobe. But if it is, you absolutely can push it into Marketo.
Okay, I thought so. Thank you.
Any other final questions? If not, I can close this out. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. It was our pleasure to come and talk to you about this. We really hope you guys can go get fantastic next day value from this with what Sam showed and start syncing audiences from Adobe to Marketo. And if you want to take it to the next step, we'd love to chat with you about our micro integrations. Like we mentioned, you can go to datajoin.com if you want to just look around and see more information about what it is that we actually do, or you can just email me directly. I'm head of product here. Just put my email right there, Cameron@datajoin.com. You can send me questions, and I'm happy to help, in whatever way I can to help you guys solve your analytics challenges and your app-to-app integration challenges, more specifically, is the problem that we solve. So thank you so much. And Kelsey, thank you for setting this up.
Of course. Thank you all so much for joining. This was a great session. For everyone that is on the call, make sure you subscribe to the Deep Dive Mug. We have some great sessions coming up and other interesting topics similar to this one. So make sure to keep an eye out on that. And we hope to see you next time. And happy birthday, Sam.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you so much.